Hi there and welcome to the show. I'm Nancy Guppy coming to you from Bellevue Arts Museum. Lots of great art happening at BAM right now, including this new exhibit. It's called Emerging Radiance, honoring the Nikkei farmers of Bellevue by Michelle Kumada and Tani Ikeda. Now, the people depicted in these murals were Bellevue farmers who, because of Executive Order 9066, issued by President Roosevelt in 1942, were forcibly removed from their homes and incarcerated in camps. This exhibit also features a storytelling component, which allows museum visitors to see and hear on their own smartphones depictions of the farmers being interviewed about their experiences.
I was born in 1927 in August. We all lived together in one farmhouse. My mother always grew flowers, and there was also an orchard. When the war broke out, FBI men came for my dad that night, early in the morning of December 8th. My mother is the one that I heard. I did not hear my father say anything. I will never forget her screaming and yelling at the authorities and insisting on her rights.
Emerging Radiance is a powerful show, and it runs now through March 13th. We have an excellent lineup for you, including a new feature film from Seattle's own Jesse Harris, a visit to Nepantla Cultural Arts Gallery, and a debut EP from Annie J. And we'll begin with a story about the Penthouse, a renowned Pioneer Square jazz club from the 1960s that hosted a veritable who's who of jazz greats.
My name is Charlie Puzo Jr. My father was Charlie Puzo, who started the Penthouse Jazz Club here in Seattle. Around 1960, 1961, my dad started the Penthouse here in Seattle. He was looking for a venue for live jazz music. One of the first things my father did at the Penthouse was pick out a piano for the room. He asked Oscar Peterson, the jazz artist, to help him out with that, who is a friend of my father's, and they picked out this beautiful baby Steinway, and they put it in the room, and they were in the process of remodeling, and he started playing, and the acoustics in the room were amazing with the brick walls. Oscar Peterson looked around the room and said, "Do not get rid of these brick walls, Charlie. It's amazing in here." And they ended up keeping the brick walls. That was part of the look of the Penthouse.
There were these little bookshelf speakers that were like 2 cubic feet. Whoever designed the system put these bookshelf speakers along the ceiling and the wall, down the wall opposite the stage. So the band was playing here, speakers were overhead. They filled the room with music without being beam-like. So the sound was very even throughout the room, and it wasn't peaky, it wasn't screechy, it wasn't boomy, it wasn't thumpy. It was very natural sounding.
The way my father approached owning a jazz club, I think, was different at that time than a lot of people would approach opening a jazz club. He made sure that everyone felt welcome there. He was always at the club. I think the way that my dad cared about the club was part of the magic of the club.
We have a special request from a man whose name is Charles Puzo. That is a young Connecticut lad who has made a name for himself in the great Northwest.
Also, I think the mix of people that you had coming into the club, it was a time in the 60s when we were in the throes of a lot of racial tension in the country, and it was a place where there was almost never a fight. There was very rarely any issues. People got along there. They came there for the music. So it was also a place of peace in a pretty turbulent time. You had everyone from John Coltrane, Miles Davis, a young Aretha Franklin. You had Oscar Peterson, Stan Getz, George Shearing and Dizzy Gillespie, Jazz Crusaders, June Christie. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
I came here in 1961, watched them build a Space Needle for the World's Fair, and the city got really excited in preparation for hosting a World's Fair. And so it was a very exciting time to be here. When I got here, unfortunately, I was working at night. I was doing the night shift at King FM, and I didn't have the opportunity to get out much. But when the Penthouse opened, that was my opportunity to start doing something by doing live broadcasts from the Penthouse. At that time, the main way of relaying audio from one place to another was via telephone lines. And you could order up special lines just for a broadcast. It was just a permanent connection between the location and the broadcast studio. And I would set up my microphones, which were good quality, recording quality microphones set for music. And I would feed the house speakers with my mixer. And it was just a little 4-channel mixer, 4 big knobs. We had to have an amplifier, which had one of those nice big VU, 4-inch square VU meters with a needle going back and forth in it like this.
Hello and welcome to half an hour of jazz live and direct from the Penthouse, just off Pioneer Square here in the heart of Old Seattle. Tonight, Seattle welcomes back Cannonball Adderley and the Quintet.
I learned to listen and watch the meters. I could see after a while which instrument was playing on the meters. Like if someone was soloing and the meter wasn't moving much, I knew I needed to turn them up. I asked at the studio, as the program was being broadcast live, that they always record the program so I could listen to it the next day, see what I did right, see what I did wrong, how I could improve the situation the next time around.
The raw tapes before they are mastered and are my favorite. Listening to them on a reel-to-reel, you really feel like you're there. I mean, out of 10, I think they're a 12.
Jazz from the Penthouse coming to you live and direct here on KING FM in Seattle. Tonight, bringing you the music of the Eddie Lockjaw Davis and Johnny Griffin Quintet. Horace Parlin at the piano, Buddy Catlett on bass, and Art Taylor at the drums. Here's the Lockjaw Davis, Johnny Griffin Quintet.
So far, out of the master tapes that Jim Wilkie and I have, we've put out 7 albums through various labels, and we plan to release 1 or 2 albums a year if everything works out well. The first release was Groovin' Hard live at the Penthouse from the 3 Sounds. We also released Wes Montgomery, Cannonball Adderley, Jack Wilson, Johnny Griffin, and Eddie Lockjaw Davis.
In broadcasting, that's always been my goal in radio, is to connect the audience and the artist together. And when people begin to see the connection between what happened then and how someone else has come along and renewed it, and reestablished it, taken it on to the next step, that's what the music is all about. And if I can be a part of that, that's good enough for me.
My dad passed away 5 years ago. We all want our parents to live on, and this is one way I can do that. Every time we release one of these records, I get to see a little bit of my dad kind of live on, which is exciting for me. I miss him dearly. He was my best friend, and this is one way I can do something that I promised I would do. And it was a kind of a shame because the process took so long that he never got to see any of these released. He got sick at the very end of when we were releasing the first record and wasn't able to see them. So it's a little bittersweet for me as each one comes out too, because he doesn't get to see them. I feel very honored to just be a small part of the process. It's important, I think, for this music to be out there and to be heard, because it is magical.
For the past half hour, you've been listening to live jazz from the Penthouse here on KING FM with Eddie Lockjaw Davis, Johnny Griffin Quintet. Eddie and Johnny on tenors, Horace Parlin at the piano, Buddy Catlett on bass, Art Taylor at the drums. Music and facilities for this program provided by the Penthouse. Technical operation by Fred Stimson. This is Jim Wilkie speaking.
Filmmaker Jesse Harris got his start as a video production student at Ballard High School. At age 17, he directed his first feature film, Living Life, which got national and international distribution. After graduating in 2004, Jesse founded NIFTY, the National Film Festival for Talented Youth, and in 2014, he moved to Hollywood. Well, I caught up with Jesse recently on Zoom to talk about his new film, Borrego. Jesse Harris, so great to see you, and congratulations on feature number 2.
Hey, thanks so much, and thank you for having me on here.
So Borrego was about Ellie, a haunted young research botanist who encounters danger when a drug smuggling plane crashes nearby in the California desert.
Are you okay?
Stop!
Why did you want to make this film?
The idea really first started with a true story from my dad, who was, he's a volunteer botanist, and he was working out in the California desert, during his breaks from the Seattle gloomy weather. And he and some other people discovered this plant that was growing out in the desert that was like an invasive species, and it wasn't supposed to be there. And he told me that idea, and I instantly got this whole kind of concept. It was such a great setup for why someone would move to this tiny little town in the middle of nowhere. I did some research and I found this story of a small ultralight plane that had crashed trying to bring drugs over the border, like that was a real thing. And I kind of put them together, and, I didn't want to make a drug or a cartel movie, but it was like just a cool way to kind of start the action and kind of tell more of a story of survival and kind of the choices that people have to make both on both sides of the border.
There are a lot of thrillers based on drug smuggling, and often the bad guys are stereotypes. In contrast, the two Borrego characters involved in the drug trade are complex with backstories. So how important was it to you to show their humanity?
Yeah, again, you usually see these total stereotypes. And I mean, I have friends whose family are from that world. Like it's just, you just know that's just kind of a way of life sometimes. It's not everyone is just some bad, evil person, And so, yeah, I thought it was really important that they kind of had these conflicted sides to them, where it wasn't they were just doing this because they were bad, but because they were forced to.
Lucy Hale plays the lead character, and she is an executive producer on Borrego. She's a name actor for sure. I know she kind of broke through in the TV series Pretty Little Liars. How did Lucy Hale get the script, and what happened when she committed to the project?
ICM, who reps Lucy, they read it and they put her name up as someone who, was looking, I think, for a more serious role and who might actually be interested in doing this. And so she read the scripts, and then I met with her, and she was so excited and passionate and ready to kind of dive into it. This movie would have never gotten made without Lucy. I mean, she really put her weight and championed it. It was amazing to have her, and she did an incredible job.
Well, the setting for Borrego is the desert. It's a beautiful and foreboding place. Can you talk about the importance of that landscape to the telling of this story?
I really wanted the desert to basically be a character in the movie, and I think it became that. And I shot purposefully, to kind of keep the focus very deep. So, a lot of times in movies, it's very shallow depth of field. You don't really see the background. And so I wanted the opposite in this. I wanted to really feel the desert and feel that landscape. So we were with the characters out there.
What was the most difficult moment, if you can choose one, of the shoot?
So much of it was the limited time we had. Some of these scenes, for example, where, you see it in like one long shot. Sometimes it was an artistic choice or creative choice, but a lot of times it was like, okay, this is the only way we can pull this scene off. It's just one long take of them walking through, finding the bodies, for example, like the sheriff and leaving, And in the end, it probably added to the intensity. You felt like you're with them, but like that was the case of like, we have like an hour to film this scene. We can't do the 20 shots in different angles I was planning for,
Are more doors opening for you as a result of Borrego?
I mean, hopefully. I mean, it's just been a few weeks now since it's come out, but it's doing really well. It's in the top 10 on iTunes indie charts, you know, and consistently has been since it came out. So hopefully, at the very least, it'll make it a lot easier to make the next movie. It won't take, you know, another 20 years between movies.
Borrego is available now on digital and on demand. Keep up with all things Jessie at jessieharris.tv. Up next from the Clock Out Lounge stage is the dynamic Annie J with a group of top-notch Seattle musicians performing Change, the hit single from Annie's debut EP.
Stand by there. Take 2. Here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Annie J's EP, Get Back, drops on Friday, March 18th. Catch her record release show on Friday, February 25th at Clock Out Lounge.
Welcome to the Nepantla Cultural Arts Gallery. My name is Jake Prendez and I'm one of the co-directors.
My name is Judy Avitia Gonzalez, co-director.
We're here on the border of White Center and West Seattle. The Nepantla Cultural Arts Gallery is a multi-use, multicultural art space devoted and grounded in the Chicano, Chicana, and Latinx arts community. I was born in a small town called San Jacinto, California, but moved to Seattle when I was 5 years old. I was always coloring and doing art as a kid, but gave up art by the time I was probably 19. Had those type of teachers that told me my art was too ethnic, too gangster. I couldn't do that kind of art. So I gave up art from the time I was about 19 till I was in my 30s, actually. But I took a class during my Master's in Chicano Studies program with famed artist Irene Cervantes, and just fell in love with art all over again. 13 so years later, I'm still at it, and I'm a full-time artist and gallery owner.
My parents are both from Mexico, from Durango, Mexico, so I am Chicana, Mexican-American. My culture, my family is super important. Spanish is my first language. I don't want to lose that. I don't want my children to lose that. And so for me to engage, to live our cultural experiences, like continue those strong traditions is very important because I don't want it lost.
We have an amazing, eclectic variety of art that we get submitted to our gallery shows. We're getting artists that have big names that show in big galleries that are in museums, but we're also getting artists that it's their first time they've ever displayed in an exhibition in their life. Currently for February, we have the Love, Art, and Heartbreak exhibition. This will be up for the whole month of February. We turn out our shows first Saturdays. So for March, we have a comic book tribute art show. April, we have our Soy Seattle art show, which is going to be a tribute to Seattle. And then in May, we have our Justicia show, which is going to be a social justice art show. So this is my art here on this wall, which is more of a permanent fixture here at Nepantla. I tell folks that my art is taking my whole life. So it's love, it's heartbreak, it's pop culture, it's Mexican culture, it's American culture, putting it in a blender and then pouring it out on canvas. This is my newest painting, just finished about a week ago. And the title of this one is The Floor is Racism. So he's trying to get as far away from the ground as possible.
We are open Thursday through Sunday from 12 to 6. Please come by and check out our current art show, as well as our ever-growing store. If you are an artist or an artisan or a writer and you have some products or merch to sell, please contact us. We are always looking for new vendors.
We hope to see you at the Nepantla Cultural Arts Gallery and visit our amazing community.
More information about Nepantla Cultural Arts Gallery, including hours and location, is on their website. And that's a wrap. Big thanks to Bellevue Arts Museum for hosting us, and you can learn all about their 5 exhibits at bellevuearts.org. Well, thanks to you for tuning in. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.